Good evening. Welcome to another edition of African American Africans, the Think Show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so-called African American didn't find themselves in America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous One. As everybody knows by now, the Accawmackes Trustee, Lisa Cypress, has been incarcerated in Eastville, Virginia. Now, I thought, and I don't know why I thought this, that there would be a huge outpouring from the indigenous community. It is not. But tonight, we have some people from her nation here to speak to you to let you know what's going on with her and what the nation as a whole, what their next steps to be. We're hoping the indigenous community can see what's happening in the world today, what's happening to their lands, what's happening to their people. And this is like a wake up call for all of us. But it seems like we're not really into it. We're into other things. We're into what other people do. Maybe that's why people from India can run the FBI. Africans can sit on the Supreme Court because what you call African Americans and Black, to me, and this is just how I'm looking at it, and I like to look at stuff in the real, not playing, not faking the funk, because when you fake the funk, your children are going to fake the funk too. And to me, that looks like with African, Black, Indians, all these people who claim that they see this as their land, when with all the people that's on this land, they seem like they have no reason to fight. So, without any further ado, we're going to welcome the Accawmackes engines, Tolof Harjo, and the Accawmackes engine. How you brothers doing tonight?
Peace. When God
I'm
falls,
good.
Man, you guys got the mic, man. Tell us what's going on.
yes. If as everyone might know and might not know, um, the tribal trustee, our tribal trustee, Waronska, Lisa Cypress, she's been basically what we would call literally kidnapped, but they called it arrested, right? For false charges, just for making quick claims. We had war. She's a prisoner of war at this moment. Um, we do need any support, any and all support from all indigenous people, uh, especially those that were reclassified. It's a Negro, color, Black, and mulatto. You know, we just need everybody to support. Uh, you can show support by signing a petition that's going around. Um, sign and share. You shine and share. That shows support. Um, but we at war. This is a serious situation, um, and it seems like there's no outcry from the indigenous community. Um, so to keep up to speed, we're she's on Lisa Cypress. She's been detained, I think, for about 8 weeks now, 8 to 9 weeks. Um, it's really out of control. Uh, they have her in the system as Black. When she has been, she has provided only one ID identification, and that was her tribal identification card, uh, to the Northampton County uh, District Court, and they just didn't, they just neglected the fact and called her black. So when you look her up in the system, she's a black woman, and this is the outrageous stuff that's going on. You know, it's a major issue. It's a major issue going on. So she's not locked up as an Indian as far as on paper. Her paperwork says she's a black woman, and that's a major issue. Major issue. Um, yeah. So we're at war. It's just a constant war. She has filed every motion possible you can probably name, um, as a pro se litigant, which is a person who vouches to represent themselves in legal cases instead of having the counsel. They represent themselves. That's called pro se. Uh, and she has every motion has been denied. So her amendment rights were violated at that point because she has a right to due process. Everyone has a right to due process, especially indigenous people, right? First and foremost. But they failed to respect that or acknowledge it at any level. Uh, so this is a big issue going on, major issue. Um, and we just need support. Uh, Civil rights, uh, how civil rights has been violated. I mean, so many different rights have been violated. Um, I've reached out to two different civil rights attorneys agencies. One contacted me back and said they have to wait till the criminal charges to drop first, and then maybe can proceed. But so that just lets you know they, from what I told them, they feel like already it's you know it's a civil rights issue, but they just can't come in until criminal charges are dropped because that's where their expertise lie. But we really need each and every individual out there in the community. We do have a large community. I know it's been growing since 2017. It's been growing exponentially. A lot of people are finding out who they are, the genealogy, having the genealogy done. Um, and we need those people, not just to be online. That's a good thing, but let's show support. Uh, the Accawmackes seem to be the only ones, the only Indian nation that's actually trying to, has been repatriated, at least has repatriated the Accawmackes who were written out as extinct uh, for years. They've written us out as extinct, that we died from diseases. The same old nonsense they keep spewing over and over in the mainstream media. Yeah, we died from disease, and so she did a major thing by showing that no, we were just reclassified. It never went nowhere, you know, through historical records and genealogical records and continuous records leading back to um, Indian families. Uh, but so it's just a major. It's just so much. It's just so much going on. Um, and it's absurd how they just have Lisa who has no criminal history at all. All right. Me myself growing up, I had a few criminal, you know, encounters, and in my experience is that those that don't have any records are supposed to be the ones that have the first and the highest priority to fight their cases from the outside. There's no need to hold a person that has no violent, and it's a non-violent. So this is why we know in nature that she's a prisoner of war. Because if you can let out a felon twice, 3 times for running, and I mean, it's a non-violent crime, and it's not even a crime. It's a crime that, that's the whole thing, right? She just made quick claims on property of Accawmackes territory, patented land. Uh, it's a lot of corruption and illegal land possession going on, and tax evasion. Um, she found that during the checking the parcels, and when you check the parcels, they let you know the information, and you could see who paid for what on what year, when you could see when the property was passed down last, and sometimes it could show. A lot of the time, you could show the chain of custody. Who did it go from, and what year did it go from that person to the other person? So it's very detailed, and it's also explained. It shows the tax information, the amount of taxes for that property, and the taxes were so low, it's just ridiculous, for all this property. Um, it was in a few thousands. I can't remember the quite number, but it was just a few $1,000s for you know a couple of $1 million worth of property. So it's just straight fraud. So that's the issue. They don't want you know the Negroes to wake up, find out, and start fighting for their land. And that's the main issue. They're just greedy, but to my belief, I mean, it hasn't been proven, but I mean, to me, I see that they fear that it's going to be an uprise of these Indians on the Eastern Shore waking up, who think they are black and they came from Africa, because the families are still there. They never left. The same surnames, over 100 and something surnames, which means 100 and some different family lines. Yes. Uh, who married across the Bay Indians. Uh, so we're all into, Tidewater region. These are all Accawmackes territory, right? So um, it's a very wide, large network. A lot of people may not know, but they are Accawmackes as well. Especially if you have Tidewater region ancestry. You'll definitely find one or two lines that would come out of the Eastern Shore. Uh, but that's where we're standing at. I don't know who else has to tell off if you want to share some.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I basically I second everything you said. Um and again, we need support. There was lots of people that's participated in, I guess, what we should now call cloud chasing, when we was able to be ourselves on Indian land, Indian Town Park. Like, there's a lot of people that's come through. Kerry Davis has, again, given lots of information, given platforms, and now these people are silent. I've messaged some of these people, sent the petitions to them, sent the trustees notice of malicious prosecution and whatnot, that I myself sent to the governor of Virginia. I sent to the attorney general. I sent to the state police, who so-called has a organization that prosecutes crimes within police departments or other government officials. I emailed I think I already said the attorney general. Yeah, so I emailed the attorney general, the governor, the state police, the sheriff's office. in the prosecutor. But basically, they're just it's this is a modern day lynching. You know, a lot of times we think that a lynching has to be a rope around the neck, and as above, so below, as before, as now. It's the same game being played over and over, as you know, was stated. Like basically, they're just railroading her. Everything she says, they either make a mockery of or they just ignore it. Last year, I was at one of the trials or hearings that was actually spare the moment. Um, they just called it out of nowhere, but we showed up, and they're 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 not following any rules. Like there's judicial rules that they're actually supposed to follow, and they're not following any of them. Um, she wasn't given the discovery, and then the thing that they're calling the discovery is not even a discovery. It's just as basically as if someone was snooping online and finding out different connections to who they think is her or whatnot. Um, I personally don't think that they really that they plan to go to trial. I think the whole thing is to terrorize, which is why they revoked her bail, um, to basically get her to agree to something. A few months ago, they tried to get her to do a plea deal and drop 51 of these so-called indictments. Um, of course,
50.
she did. What was that?
Yeah, it was 50. They gave her an offer to drop 50 of the 51 charges.
Okay. And then what, take probation for a year and not file anymore. I mean,
Quick,
it,
quick claims. Hmm.
yeah, which again isn't a crime. So again, they're not following any rules. And then in order for it to be a crime, in order for malicious filings to be a crime, there has to be the action, and it has to be complete. So she had filed in a federal court, which is a higher jurisdiction than the state court,
Hmm.
which is where Indians are supposed to be filing. Not that the federal jurisdiction is above us, but that's where we're supposed to file our papers because there's this whole federal thing, as they claim. But
Right.
so she filed there. It was not answered to, or so, whichever. It didn't go. Oh, the uh the clerk didn't wouldn't record, refused to record. So again, it was no action. So you can't even justify a so-called malicious filings or malicious encumbrances, as they're claiming, because the action never went through. Not that it was anyway. So again, they're just doing anything that they think they can get away with. And again, they was banking on Lisa not being knowledgeable or even breaking, but obviously she's staying strong, um, because the truth is the truth. I mean, you can't.
Right. See. Right. So let me interject if you can. Um, to get more clarification, uh, the quick claims, for those that may not understand completely, right? Because this is what this is about. We want to get the information clearly out to people. Quick claims are a simple process it's a legal matter that happens. Over 500,000 are done. You can Google and research it. Over 500,000 are done yearly,
Wow.
right? For the last 50 or over 50 years. So, um, and it's only criminal when there's forgery or fraud involved. The two of the such, she is not charged with. She is not charged with fraud. She is not charged with forgery. She
Right.
is charged. They have charged her with liens and encumbrances. I just spoke with her earlier, and she was saying, right, she said it several times. They made up charges. So the liens and encumbrances falls under the different law. But see, they overruled the authority and applied it to her, even though her actions didn't, it doesn't match it.
Right.
Just like, just say you got caught with a gun. Okay, you directly got caught with the gun on you. Okay, that's evidence. You got possession of a weapon, right? That's direct, real simple, right? But this is not the case. In this case, it's like they're saying, we know you got a gun, but they can't find it. But we still going to charge you because we just know you had a gun.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know you had a gun? Because we know. So that's what's going on. That's literally what's going on. They don't have anything. They have nothing at all to prove that. Anyway, she can't. There's no crime that was committed.
Right.
So normally, what happens in quick claim processes, right, is that just say we're gonna name them John and Mary. So say John made a quick claim on Mary's property. Well, if Mary feels like John doesn't have right to, or to the property that she's occupying, she must take Mary must take John to court, civil court, and sue him civilly and prove it in a civil trial. And during that civil trial, if it's proven, if criminal acts are proven within the criminal trial, excuse me, if criminal acts are proven within the civil trial, then the state may pick up the case, the criminal case, right? So that's how it normally works. Now, in Lisa's case, it didn't happen like that. They just made the charges. It didn't fall in that category, but they just said, you know what, just do it anyway. Now, to my guess, well, not to my guess, to my assumption, and I'm sure I'm right. Her court claims had to have some form of validity because it made them go hard and trump up charges so she could be arrested. So it's like they needed to put an emergency stop to her somehow, illegally or illegal. They didn't care. So let's stop her now. We must stop her. No, because they have their interests. They want to protect their interests, quote unquote. That they have in stolen property, basically, right?
Right.
So they're trying to protect it, which is weird in the whole sense. You're trying to protect this. You're going all out for protect something that never was yours. Also, these people they're trying to torment her life. She's doing well. She's in good spirits. She has no worries. She has no fears. She's her trial is coming up. She definitely wants that to be put out. Her trial dates are November 18th and 19th. Okay, again, November 18th and 19th. We urge, and she urges as well, any and all support that can be there. It's a 2-day trial. That'd be the best support. Yeah, so that's she would really want that. I mean, and it really works out for everybody because she's representing the reclassified Indian who was reclassified to Negro, colored, and black, and we can prove that Accawmackes easily through the court records. See, so I mean, it could be proven in many different nations actually, but ours were easy. We're kind of easy because we have the oldest court records, and our ancestors was in court in 1600s, saying no, I'm Indian, I'm not black, and yeah, because they were being brought in court saying they were black, And they was like, "Excuse me, no, I'm not black. My child is not black, and my child's father is not black. We are from the such and such clan, band, and or nation." So that's how that went, and a lot of them won the case. So that's why it was easy to prove that, the Indians on the shore would indefinitely later called Negro, colored, and black and mulattoes. Um, so that's the issue. So and the thing is that, like I said, it benefits everybody when she wins. So it's best to, when I say everybody, let me clarify that. It benefits all Indians that were reclassified, and it opens that major door, because no one, if you look up, I'm sure all you guys have eyes to see. It's not happening. There's no nation out there that's reclaimed their ancestors' nation without trying to join these Native American nations, because some of them are mixed, some of them are not even real Indians. So that's just a big convoluted mess, right? Um, Big major convoluted mess. A lot of them are actually not Indian. Like, then you got, it's a decent amount of them that that have mixed ancestry. So um, that's kind of a thin line to toggle right there. But the major thing is that those that do know who they are, that they're Indian, and did know that their family got reclassified to, black, colored, mulatto, and Negro, it would help us. It helped those people, because right now, they don't even respect you when you tell them that you're Indian. They still call, look, they're calling her black, and the whole county knows. I've been in the county several times with her. The whole county knows her. They respect her. It's just that these people, these authorities, they just want to play games. It is weird, because everybody respects her, acknowledges her, and actually, when they tell her, they always ask information. So they do know. The Eastern Shore Post has uh, wrote about, I think, 4 times, and when they mention her, they don't mention her. I think they made a descendant. They call her descendant of the Accawmackes one time, but the other 3 times they called her the Accawmack tribe, Accawmack leader, who repatriated her nation. So they properly identified her. Uh, so I mean, when you Google Accawmack now, you're gonna see her face come up now. This is new. 2-3 years ago, when you Googled Accawmack, it said we were extinct, and it's very, like I said, it's very important, because she repatriated and corrected the information that had the Accawmacks, who are still a lot of millions out there, that labeled black. They're labeled black because because their grandmothers were labeled Negroes. Or great grandmothers were labeled Negroes on census records, or mulattoes, and some black, and some white as well. So it just, yeah. So it helps a major majority of our people, because she's the face. So you got to think of it more like that. She's the face representation of the lost Negro, I like to say, who is really the Indian, right? Um, and we have to really step up, get off the internet. I know the internet, and people like sharing posts, and liking, but that's cool. That's all right. But it's time for boots on the ground work, right? I see a lot of people making organizations rather than making, excuse me, they're making organizations rather than forming their ancestors' nations that was recognized as a sovereign entity at the time of European arrival, right? That's the highest power, right? So that's what Lisa has done. She has used her, she has used her ancestors' uh, sovereign status acknowledged by England, by the Crown of England, who was King James at first. So we have records. Yeah, he acknowledged uh, that they were the elite people. That's why they chose to. They had many places. Now they know they knew about what we call North Carolina, even though these state lines are new, but what we call North Carolina today and South Carolina and some of Florida, they've been there already as well. They were there. They were in what we call North Carolina in 1585. Uh, um, so these people are strategic. They picked a certain place specifically for a certain reason, um, and that's why it's not surprising that that's where the oldest contiguous court records are located in the United States. So yeah, it's gonna help a lot of it's gonna help the majority of us to face. She's the major face because they just don't want us to be Indian. Uh and that's a major issue. Um she's a major prisoner of war. Uh all English subjects were supposed to be at peace and amity with the Indians. Right. If you check all colonial records, it was always peace and amity. Well, most Indians, and especially with the Accawmackes. Um, that's why there were certain laws set aside in the. Also, there were a lot of patents made and set aside, protected by a lot of our ancestors and kinfolk on the shore. Um, so it's kind of like they knew already. Well, not knew, it had to been going. It was going on obviously because on the court records they even show they've been encroaching since late 1600s, or no, mid 1600s, mid to late 1600s. They started encroaching. Like there were complaints in the court, like they just didn't want to stay off the land, like they were hunting on land that wasn't theirs. Like, listen, you're gonna stay over there. And so the Indian had to come in and say, no, he's encroaching on my land, hunting, and so you hunting on somebody's land, you're hunting their animals and anything. They're liable. Their liability on your property, right? Just like today, someone falls on your property, they can sue you if it's found that it was your neglect, right, of your property. So it's major. And it's the same thing they're doing today and encroaching. Well, it's the same thing. It's just the long form encroachment. They just say, instead of just encroaching, we're gonna just take it. You know what I mean? So that's what really. So it's like a major. It's like basically it's a robber. Without a gun. Sorry, get out of here. You know, you're not Indian. No, you're black. Shut up. It's like disrespectful. And yeah, we just need support. We need this. We need this to be out everywhere. This is a major issue. It was quick claim filings. Anyone could do research on it. Quick claim filings in Virginia. You can search case law, Trustee online. You have plenty of sources you can see. And then to show you the process, like I said, what I explained, it's just a simple, um, simple legal matter. Just that's putting the interest. I mean, that's claiming it. One person is claiming the interest on another property, right? So basically, it's saying that this is my property. I'm passing it. She made a property and she passed it from her. You have the grantor and the grantee. So she granted her. She was the grantor and the grantee. So she granted to herself because it was patent. It was on patented land, and they were illegally occupying the land. But although she didn't have to explain that in quick deed, you don't have to explain that because quick deed. All you have to do is just say, I'm claiming this land, and from my name to my name, from me to my, right, and here goes my ID, which proves that there's no fraud. That's why they can't charge with fraud, because she used her name. Fraud is saying like, uh, she's, her name will be Lisa Cypress, but she's using the ID that said, Mary Weathers. So, you know what I mean? That's fraud. That's forgery. Or she signed someone else's name. She's acting like someone else, but she's not really that person. That's forgery and fraud, right? So that's not the case that's going on. That's not what's going on, right? So they're charging her with liens and encumbrances, which has nothing to do with quick claims. You can also look that up. Anyone can Google that. So right, bad saint. Right. But yeah, it's sad to see that um people are not outraged. People should be outraged about this. They should be infuriated, like, because I guess they feel like, oh, it's not them, they cool. But what's going on is that we're all still slaves, and I know a lot of people like to think like, oh, just because you claim that you're Indian, don't mean it don't really carry weight in the real world, just off of claiming. That's cool. You know who you are. Salute, right? Salute to that. You know who you are. That is very beautiful. But does the state recognize that? Does all these different entities of authority recognize that? Or do they acknowledge it? So that's what we're getting at, right? And that's called correcting your status, and so forth and so on. But it's really more boots on the ground work would be more important, like I said, it's good to share. I like it. Yeah, I like to go on the internet sometimes, on Facebook and Instagram. And, yeah, see some, some real Indian posts of the real misclassified Indians. But we still have to do boots on the ground work. And I don't see much support from my, Rwanda squad, Accawmackes leader. We really don't see too much support from the internet, what we call the internet Indian community. And although most of them know who she is, right? I just can't really put my hands on it. Maybe it's for personal reasons you don't like her. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. But people need to set that aside with their personal little things, attack they have on people, and deal with the major goal. Uh, everyone that's in this lifestyle right now, in this awakening, basically it's really an awakening because we were sleep dead, and it had us real good. Me, more than myself, I was going to Africa 15 years ago. Uh, so yeah, I was lost myself. So they had us real good, and it still got out of our people. We got to go through that struggle. But those that actually know, we need really y'all to be involved, infuriated, just like it's your tribe, because it's a Negro that's representing their true identity, who is reclassified, from being Indian. So that's very important. And then when she wins, we all win. Like I said, um, she definitely has helped out many people. Whoever has reached out, she has helped them for free, not $1 charge. Any information, her time. So yes, and especially those that she helped. Yeah, if you're listening and you get this and this reaches out to you, that would be this would be a good time to show your thanks, repay her. You know what I mean? With your support, especially to those that she did show support to over these last few 6 7 years. Um, so yeah, we just need that. We need it out. We need this information out. Um, Prisoner of war, no respect. Have a 60-year-old lady. Elderly woman locked up for non-violent charges. That's outrageous. Just sitting there waiting trial like it's a murder, like it's a drug case. I know, I grew up with people that had drug cases. You know what I mean? Like, come on. And I was telling her that earlier. It hurts my heart. That's how you know that they're really using this as a tool of, war. This is really war. They're really trying to break her spirits. Also, I want to mention they have nothing because 51, like you stated earlier, they made an offer, the prosecutor made an offer to drop 50 of the 51 indictments of liens and encumbrances. Um, so basically, it's the same charge 51 times, which is like, come on. Anybody, I mean, Ray Charles would see that just to set up. Who gets 51 charges of the same charge? No one. Now, no criminal in history. So, I mean, it's just absurd. Just the sound of it is absurd. 51 charges. And
Don't even
when I
cross.
was in court one time with her, I went to court about 2 or 3 times with her. And when I was there one time, he said, yeah. She said, how do you get 51 charges out of 21 click claims? And he said, because that's like shooting one gun. That's like using one gun to shoot 51 people. And you're like, how is that? No, that's not. So now, yeah. So does that make sense? So that's what he said, and it's just absurd. And it has to be in the court minutes because it was in the live court session. So the stenographer had to, she has to input every word that's said from the parties within that court session. So it's recorded, and it's like, wow, you really said that? It doesn't make any sense. So they're just trumping up charges, trying to scare her. She's not falling, not bending, not folding. She's a firm, strong engine. Definitely. That's an Accawmackes trick for the women as well. They tend to be strong. They're not really the petite, pretty. They kind of like cut. They cut clean. They got a slight little rough edge on them. For certain purposes, like this. Um, but yeah, so they're really trying. It's really sad. It really hurts my heart because, like I said, they let harsher criminals out with criminal histories, and she has not a piece of criminal history, not one crime ever, not one criminal, nothing on her record. This would be her first of this. Yeah, she's considered a first offender at the moment. So this is absurd. So those type of people are supposed to have first priority to get out and have a chance to fight the case from outside because they're not a threat to society. They're not a threat to the courts, the state, or the nation. Right? Physically, anyway. Right? We talk about physical. That's all they're worrying about. Physical. Can this person damage us physically? Are they violent? Are they known to be violent? No. So she has none of that history. Her history actually is good. It's on the opposite end. Actually, it's on the opposite spectrum. It's actually 35 years of being a nurse. Grew up with parents in a good neighborhood. She grew up in a good neighborhood, not the ghetto, like most of us. She was fortunate, right? So and went straight on in life as she was supposed to. Went to college, got a degree, went to get nursing, and stood in there for 35 years. So this is the type. So people should be outraged. A lot of people should be outraged just off that. Like, what? You're locking up a old elderly woman for a non-violent crime? What are we doing here? And you're keeping it there? Like, what? When in other states they let out worse criminals with long rap sheets, so and give them a chance to fight from the outside. Yeah, it's called ROR, right? It's called release on your own recognizance. Yes, I have gotten released on my own recognizance after missing 2 or 3 court dates. They might lock you up for 2 or 3 weeks to give you a lesson. Okay, you learned your lesson. Okay, We're gonna give you one more chance. They give plenty criminals chances, yet they won't give her another chance to get freedom, and she has a non-violent offense. So yes, we need everybody out there. She's being violated highly. I'm very infuriated. I'm hot. Honestly, trying to hold my cool. But yeah, we need to support any and all support. Um, and that's why she wants this information out and or broad as it could be, because they are corrupt, and this is how they get away, because nobody knows what's going on, and this is how they get away. And up in like in the little corner, and they could just do their little damage and continual damage to people as long as they're not being publicized, right? Then so when they get publicized with it, exposed, that'll bring exposure. That kind of changes things when people get exposed. So that's what the support would do. Share, like, and share when you see the post. Um, if you're on social media, you're going to see the post. Someone is going to share the post that you follow or are friends with. People have been sharing the sign, and it's just not a lot of the Indians on the, so we just looking for more support. And yeah, um, I'm trying to think of anything major. But yeah, so like I said, yeah, that's the main thing. She's they're turning they're just trumped up charges. That's political war. It's exactly what they did to the Indians. This is just the exact same thing, the strategy they were using when they got here. It was political strategy. They never beat the Indians by war. You will never find that no foreign subjects from no country ever beat up the Indians at war. Um, that's why Indians need to wake up. We wake up. We're the baddest people. Honestly, we're some tough people. We're some warriors by nature. One of the best, maybe the best. That's what it looks like, because they had to go to a political strategy. Um, when you read the old, you find a few stories. They tried. There was war. They had losing. They had they men, and they was ready to fight, but they lost. They always had to get other Indians to help them. So there were wars, but it wasn't like a sole war against foreigners against Indians. No, it was foreigners that paid other Indians to fight this other group of Indians. So that's what it was. So like I said, they had to find different strategies. So they found that the political game, and it's the same strategy. They were doing the same thing then they were doing now, playing political games over property, and you know. But back then, the only difference is that they didn't have any authority. That's the difference. Now they sit in the authoritative seats. This is the difference. So they're playing the same games, but the only thing that's different is they're sitting in these positions of authority, quote unquote. Not really authority, because that's what they call authority, actually, because it's not authority. They're just supposed to be a company. Actually, all these the United States is a big company. That's why they call it a corporation. Yeah, the U.S. corporation. It's a large It's probably the largest corporation. Well, yeah, it is the largest corporation in America, right? But they call itself a governing body of America, right? Which makes no sense, because no foreign subject from no land can govern any indigenous people of their land. So that's just like that's like us Indians going to Greece, and say, we're gonna uh and we made a corporation, large corporation, and you know what? We misclassified the Greeks. And you know what? We're calling ourselves the Greeks. You know what? Just imagine that. It's just absurd. And we just gonna rob them and tell them and call them something else. And when they try to assert their rights in the legal matter, we'll question it. We'll stop it. So it's just not respecting Indian law. Indian law is the highest law of the land within the Americas and and Canada as well. I, when I speak Americas, Canada is connected, but most people always want to disconnect Canada from us. But yeah, so Canada, North, South, and Central America are all laws are to protect Indians first. Indigenous laws, period, all around the world are primary laws. Uh, of course, you can't. How are you going to? How is? I mean, how does it make sense that a newcomer to indigenous people come to their country, people who has been there for thousands and thousands of years, and you come and regulate and put laws on their land and give them rules and stipulations of what they can and can't do? No, that doesn't make sense, right? It's like we can't go to London today and say, this is what we're taking some of this land, and no, and it doesn't happen. It can't happen. What would happen? War, right? Yeah. So, like, get out of here. They will jail you if they can't first. They can't, and right. So it'll just be a lot of chaos. They'll do all what they have to do to stop you. But the only thing is that when you don't know who you are, and you think that you're from Africa, you're born on the slave boat, then you don't really want to fight for it and understand, right? But when you do know who you are, and that's the ones you really expect to step up and support us. Um, like I said, her trial starts on the 18th and the 19th. It's 2-day trial in November. It would be nice. It would be lovely if we see a lot of support. People could show up at least one of those days, and you don't have to be there for the whole session. But just show support. Just show up. Uh, it's pretty much what I got for now. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Do you have anything to say? I'm trying to think. Did I get everything out? Because she wants me to get everything out to the public. So yeah, they're trying to make her life a hell. And it's crazy because the Commonwealth, I didn't know that she has to pay for everything. I mean, Commonwealth is different than other states. I noticed that being from New York, I'm like, wow, the jails are different. You have to pay for every single thing. The person that you're calling, I didn't know. The person to receive phone calls, you have to have money on your account. So I have to have money in an account that they set up to receive calls. And I didn't even know that. It's just crazy. It's just like, so they doing on and they've been hanging up as well. So they hang up when we start talking about these certain Indian points. They hung up on us at least 3 times. Yeah. So of course they're monitoring, but they're not supposed to hang up if we're just talking regular, and we know they're listening, so we're talking up front. And they just hate the fact when we dig into we start talking about land patents and ownership. So, and that's how you know it's validity to it, right? It's funny because they hang up on you. They click you off. Like, wow, that's taking away her. That's another thing, taking away her rights. There's nothing illegal talking on the phone. We're talking about the case and the situation going on. That's all we were doing. Each and every time we got cut off. But I noticed that when they cut us off, it was important times when they were talking about land patents and, you know, disputes and, to things to that nature. and reciting certain historical events that's actually documented on primary sources. And yeah, they cut us off when we get to those type of those type of conversations. So we found that it's better to just text. It's as I mean, message. It's called message. So they have a message. You can message or call. So when you message, the message seem to go through. They don't block the messages. So it's like, wow. So that's kind of still like a violation of the right. So we have to send messages just to get our exact words out without getting interrupted, because on the phone calls they're gonna just cut us off. So it's like so many amendment rights are being violated on all levels. Just like they're trying to violate her. And not only people that's like, I can understand she had 2 or 3 felonies, and or at least one, and one prior already, and she had a couple of run-ins with the police, but none of the sort. No criminal history, 35 years being a nurse. Um, it's absurd. Who waits that long to be a criminal? Who? Who waits after 35 years with a good career? No one. And it's absurd. So yeah, so that's why everybody should be outraged. This could be anyone's grandmother, mother, aunt, cousin in the same similar situation. Um, yeah, it could easily happen to any one of us. To say you found out your ancestors' land, and you find out, oh wow, this is my land, and you want to make a quick claim, and you quick claim, and it may happen or it may not happen. Different states work differently, but it seems in Virginia, that's where the colonial powers are, right? Quote unquote. Yeah, they are putting the foot on. They are trying to keep the foot on the necks of the Indian. I don't know if you want to add anything, Tyler. I'm sorry. Tyler,
Oh,
you there?
oh yes, I'm here.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know if you want to add anything, but yeah, I just.
Yeah.
Mhm.
To the powers that were, they're not stopping anything. I mean, what they're really doing is just bringing truth to light. So a lot of things that we didn't know, we knew we had certain areas of land, but a lot of us didn't realize that it's all ours. There, every square inch is ours. It belongs to the Americans. So the original Americans. And we're coming for our shit, like plain and simple. This, I mean, Lisa's the trustee of the Accawmackes, but there's also, within each clan, band, nation, there's also each each personal clan or family, as some people would call it, um, has their own land, had documents of land, so or houses or whatnot. So what they really have done is open people's eyes to things that we didn't know. So like I
Right.
said, they're they've actually opened the can of worms on themselves. Really, I mean, even the fact of that they're willing to commit crimes to try and prove that we're committing crimes. So they've just really shown us
Hmm.
that this is the time, you know, this is the time, and this is exactly what our ascendants went through, you know, same. So they're not stopping anything. I know it seems it is a pain, of course, when you're arrested. I've been there. You're arrested for things that are considered crimes in their realm. But of course, as we know, we're not even in their realm, so they're not even supposed to be adjudicating us. Period. Um, I mean, even in a murder case, we should be adjudicating ourselves. But if
True.
it came to that in a situation like that, that is the only time, because obviously they have the jails and so-called system for it. But that's it. That's actual crime of murder is the only time that there were actually contractually allowed to adjudicate one of us, and then it would have to be against a U.S. citizen, not another Indian. So there's
Well, actually, that may be uh, uh I would say a kind of like a fugitive Indian or a ward Indian. I would say an Indian that they would label a ward of. You know what I mean? Because if you are an Indian completely free in your status, they couldn't do anything to you, and that's why the whole trick was to get you out of your Indian status. They were trying to trick you out of. So, you know, the trick was to trick you out of your Indian status. That way, you could be subjected to any and all laws, right? So that's the game they played, and that's what's going on right now. So the Indian, so same thing what you're saying. They really didn't have any. So if you did read an Indian subject being charged by the U.S. corporation, he wasn't in his correct status, or
yeah,
he was an Indian under war. Maybe he had signed a contract. That's why you got to be careful. The contract you sign, you consent. Um, yeah, when you sign that contract, you consent. Um,
right,
you know. So yeah, so Indians. So I'm glad you mentioned that Indians is the highest law. I did mention that earlier, and you're right. They don't have the right to or authority. They don't have no authority to have Indian subject, especially a nation's leader. Who, she repatriated the nation, who were written now as extinct, who were lied, and now when you research, you find that the information has been updated to say that we have certain amount of enrolled members, even though the numbers are kind of lower than what the updated numbers are. It's not updated, but it does show you that it's a few hundred enrolled members,
right,
a couple of hundred on when you research it. Uh, so yeah, I mean we came far, uh, but yeah, so they don't. And that's another thing. Like you said, they're not supposed to even have her. But I think, to my belief, she doesn't really believe it's not gonna change anything. But I believe it's the black status they have her under. Uh, that's one of the reasons why they're able to hold her
yes, exactly,
because it has to be strategic. Why wouldn't you respectfully put her correct uh racial ethnicity is what they call it right today? Why wouldn't you put her correct ethnicity that she has on her ID that she has passed to you over 20 times? Because
right,
she has did so many filings in that courthouse. So she has passed
mhm,
that same ID over, I would say 30 times within the last 5, 6 years. Maybe 40 times, literally. She lived in that courthouse.
yeah,
So it's like, wow, you serious? So out of all the 6, 7 years, you see, so that's war. That's war. You know what I
right,
mean? That's what. Imagine us doing that to them, right? An Englishman. He's claiming he is an Englishman. He's an original indigenous Englishman. And we telling, somebody else telling him, no, I'm just a white guy.
no, you're a Scot, or you're
Because that's exactly what they did. They said, no, you're not that. You're just white.
right,
So they just labeled our color. It's just black. And I don't know if anybody is aware of uh, how they treat black, what black is in law. Black means dead, civilis mortis. Uh, it means dead. You have no rights at all. Uh, And that's one of the major reasons you don't want to be called black. That is the actually that is the top priority reason why you don't want to be called black in this country. I don't know what their status is in other countries, but I know in this country, in the United States of America, and in Canada as well, yeah, that black term is bad in
Nobody's
law.
calling themselves that in other countries, just like they don't. In Europe, they don't call themselves white. They call themselves what they are. Just
Right,
like, you know, mo- most of the people over there, pale people, would know that they're Slavic, that they are the original Slavs. So, it's like the big takeover, the whole brainwashing. I mean, that's why everyone comes here. That's why, all the Nazi scientists came here. Everybody comes here to learn and experiment and to gain knowledge of how to go back home and take over if they go home. But
right,
the whole the it goes a little deeper than the whole black thing because I went about 5 years ago. I went through this. So I had my daughters enrolled in school and stuff, and then my stepchildren. I would go and I would fight for their rights as indigenous people or whatnot. So they did a whole setup where they had me pulled over and accused of running two stop signs. And then by the time I was so called arrested for resisting arrest without violence, it turned out to be four or five stop signs. So again, when they're trying to jam you up or they're trying to
wow,
prove you're committing a crime, they will commit crime. So the same thing happened, literally almost word for word. So I identified as American Indian. The rookie cop wrote I, which in here in Florida they write a I on your paper, which stands for Indian. And but the trainer cop went, and I've seen this in our records where they'll take a I for Indian and try and turn it into a B. So by doing that, they use like two triangles, kind of. It looks weird. Like you can tell that it was somebody tried to forge something. So on some of the documents, tickets, it said Indian, and then like I said, others you could see where the other cop, the higher ranking cop, tried to do that, right? B's for black. So same thing, go to the jail, then I'm like, I want a pen and paper for habeas and different stuff. One of my phone calls, none of that was allowed. I was in a bullpen with no running water, no, the toilet didn't work, was clogged up, by myself for 2 days. No food, no water. Um, they wouldn't take me in like into a
wow,
cell with a blanket or nothing. So it's but the whole point was even about the black. It wasn't just because the black is dead. It's because if they label you black, because they went and did some stuff where they'll call you a black identity extremist. So that's what they're doing. That's what they're trying to do with Lisa, to then put them in their realm. So trying to say, they're basically trying to say she's a black identity extremist, and they're calling her a sovereign citizen.
right. Sovereign
And they did
citizen
the
thing.
same
They're
with
really trying
Vic.
to paint the sovereign citizen type of
Right.
thing, right?
They'll
Even
throw
though,
that out there.
but although they didn't say that, they never said it, but that's how they acting, right?
Well, she said they actually said it, and she said the one of the judges and
Oh, I think
somebody.
one time, one time,
Yeah.
I think that was one of the prior judges, right?
Right. So they're basically letting you know what their game is. So they did the
Right.
same. They literally did the same thing to me. So there was this one deputy. So like it was time for me to go for my arraignment or whatnot, or bail review. I was OR out on my own recon. I ended up finding out. So but he kept trying to say, he's like, you're black, you're black. I was like, no, I'm not, I'm American Indian. So he's like, well, if you don't agree to be black, I'm going to tell the judge that you're giving us a hard time, and tell the judge to give you raise your bail.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I mean, again, this is what these people would do. Now, this person looked like one of these people, these pale people that would be considered that thinks he's a Native American, basically, or thinks whatever. Like he had black hair and sort of tan skin, but was more pale. But yeah. So this is. But then there was Indians in there, so like there was people that like would help me out, so they got information to the warden and the captain and whatnot, so the captain got me a hearing, and that's when I found out that I was supposed to be let go. I was supposed to basically wasn't even supposed to be in there. But then if they did like try and fingerprint me, that was the other thing. I refused fingerprinting and all that, because again, I knew that it was all the crime was against me. But literally they did the same thing, so then it's drug out. Then they kept playing around with like court hearings, to where I end up missing one because they said there was no Zoom hearing. This was right around the whole pandemic. So they said there was no Zoom hearing, but then I find out after the fact there actually was a Zoom hearing, because no one was going into court. So then they've had a warrant out for 4 years, and then I was in an accident, and that's how that got settled. So, but then I went into court and everything, and they agreed that I'm American Indian and whatnot, and it all got worked out. Like if you look up the case now, all the charges was dropped, plus vacate, like wiped off, like there's no record or nothing. So, and right now, so about 2 weeks ago, so called, I got a seatbelt violation, and on my paperwork it says American Indian. So it's like they'll push, and in Lisa's case, obviously they have more to lose. I mean, some traffic, some citations isn't as much to lose as land, as you stated, as they've stolen. So that's their whole goal. It's not just the calling her black. It's what, at this point, because she's standing up for herself, they're trying to put her in this category of sovereign citizen slash um identity extremist. So that's what we have to get her out of that, which then takes her out of their jurisdiction, because right now, because of that, that's why she's in her. That's what they feel, and is a fact, puts her in their jurisdiction, because on
No,
her.
well, honestly, no, they know. Cause no, cause they know that everything just being blatant. Everything just a blatant
Right,
action. You know what I mean?
right,
So they know
right,
it's just blatantly disrespecting it.
right, right,
Cause like I said, it's simple. Why would you Why would you label her black when none of her identification of so that lets you know alone that they have, and like you said, it's the same situation you just explained. And what that make me think of, right, is the KKK, right? Because the KKK, a lot of people don't know, the KKK was here to move the Indians out the towns.
right.
Uh, that's why they burnt their best time when they struck was 3 in the morning, 2 and 3 in the morning, when everybody was asleep, and they threw fires in the houses, about 4 or 5 houses in each town as they rode, and it worked.
Well, that's the devil's hour, witch's hour. It's also, so everything's a ritual.
Right, that part too, and which they learned all that stuff from the Indians. That's what's funny. They learned a
Right.
lot of stuff from us, and that's another thing. That's one of our weaknesses. We like to be nice and cool with everybody, just because we feel a good vibe. We think, okay, we open up, and that's what our weaknesses.
Hmm.
We open up to too many people, too many out
Right.
foreigners anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's the same terrorist. It's a terroristic move.
Yeah. All the way
That's
around.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the genocide,
Yes. Yeah.
because you're killing off They're still killing off the identity.
Right.
And when you kill off identity, that's genocide.
Hmm.
Because the similar situation to Israel, that's another thing. See, we gotta really maybe that maybe they've got to use that term because we still look. We actually, well, it's real similar. It's actually more emphasis. Has more emphasis on it. But when you look at Israel, how Israel let their people back in a few years back, right?
Right.
They open their doors and say, "Yeah, if your family originally came from Israel and you're outside the country and you want to come back at entry, you can come in." You know what I mean? So they let all their people out, and they kicked out a certain port. I forgot the certain number, but it was a certain amount of people that were indigenous to Israel that had to be moved out, right? They had to leave. So
Yeah, the Palestinians are the original people.
right, right. So I'm saying so they they had already had made their move for the indigenous people. They made their move to call and give them rights to come back, and it came with also with benefits. It's certain benefits. I have to look it up, but it came with benefits as well when they came back because to help them regroup in life. You know what I mean?
Right.
So uh ours didn't happen. That's the thing, and that's the only thing we're missing it. So
Well,
Israel,
probably because just like with us, when we leave an area, it just doesn't nothing happens the same. So they feed off of our energy, so I'm sure it's the same anywhere else that they the host or the the parasite needs the host.
right?
So just
Facts.
like just like you go into all these pale, like where it's all these pale peasants out in what we our country, it looks weird because we're not there. It's just not the same. Nothing grows the same. Nothing. So it's the same thing. But then every couple decades, the powers that were realize that they need our energy. So what do? They build these things called create these things called counties, which are right in the out or right on the outskirts of the country. So it brings our energy closer too, which helps everything grow again. Because so that's all Israel did. They're not doing the. I mean, as we know, there's no such thing as Israel, but that's a created state.
But it was called Palestine. Yeah, it's
Right.
actually called
So
Palestine.
that's all they're doing. They're not doing anything to help humanity. They're doing that to help themselves, just like the
Yeah, I
foreigners
didn't
here
mention them.
do.
Yeah, I didn't mention them for the Bible stuff or nothing, right? I was just mentioning it because how they reached out to the indigenous people around the world and opened their doors back, and they was the only country to ever do that.
Yeah, but are they? Did they really open it to indigenous people, or what they're calling like
No, no,
their
they
people, or
no, they
Palestinians?
no, they was actually based off of records.
Okay,
It was
the
official.
the real people of the land. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of brown people. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so that's
yeah.
all that was about, though. It's just the parasite needs the host. They they just like again back here, they burn us out all these towns and this different stuff, but without us, nothing is the same. Even technology isn't even how it should be right now because in as we're not as involved in it. Yes, there are so-called, as they would call them, black people or whatever that's hidden in these laboratories, but it was more than that before. We're all
We were
inventors basically.
no, no, you
So
no, definitely no. We were the forefront. We were the most advanced nation.
right,
Um, yeah, it's proven on maps. There's a map of from 1594. Uh, the map is accurate to this day. It matches the map today. So that's how you know you have to take that map. highly, highly serious, right? Because it's accurate. When a map from 1594 is accurate to the T to modern day, you know that you have to call everything accurate on the map, right? Everything else that you find on the map, because the locations is still the same today. So when you
Right.
go to America, and it's split up, they have the whole world except I noticed they're missing Australia and New Zealand. So Australia and New Zealand is not on the map. So I guess they didn't go over there yet. But they knew the rest. You know, New Zealand and what you call it, they're over there by themselves. They're next to each other.
Okay.
Australia and New Zealand is next to each other. They're not far. I think they're a couple of hours apart. So they're in the southern part, region, southern region, right? So I guess they didn't reach them. So they have, but the rest of the world, every single other region, was recorded in this 1594 map. And when in this map, North America has the most castles. So you got castles in all these countries, right? In all these continents, Africa, Africa, Europe, and America. And North America and South America. So South America, you got a few. They had I think about 20 something. North America had the most. It had about 70 castles. Every single state had castles, and we know who these castles are. Today, these castles are what they call them. They
Prisons
revamped them. They renamed them into cathedrals, city halls.
and prisons. In
Um, uh,
Baltimore, where I was born, there's one they called the Castle, and it
but
was a
some
prison.
okay, some may be prisons, and some may be
Well, they turned it into a prison, but
right
it
turned into a
was,
prison,
yeah,
right? Others are the
that's,
universities.
yeah,
These, you see
churches.
churches, cathedrals, right? They revamped and renamed them,
uh,
right?
Yeah,
Um,
okay, right. Cathedrals would be a church. Yeah.
right. So, um, yeah, so they revamped it so they could hide it. And like I said, that map matches. I can get that 1594 map and prove that. Oh yeah, each and every place they had, it showed that they had these big, large. And so I say that to say that it showed you that by showing that America had 70 castles. Okay, now let me go there. Now Africa had about 11 castles, right?
Mhm.
And Europe had about five. But what's weird is that Europe castles were very tiny compared to Africa and America. So it shows that. So when you look at that map, what does it show you economically? Where everybody's still economically. America, North America was the powerhouse.
Right.
They were the economic powerhouse of the world. Second was South America. Third was Africa. So based off the amount of castles, you know what I mean? So Africa came in third and Europe came in last.
Right.
So they were the poverty people, and it makes sense why they
Right.
all came here. It makes
Hmm.
sense. So that's why I said I'm obsessed with like primary stuff, primary source information, primary documents, and yeah. So that's why you could just use that and make a story,
Right.
you know, and that's it. What do we expect from poor immigrants that came here in the 1800s that claimed that? And that's another thing. She's being. I think she want me to put that as well. She's being targeted by these people that's been on the shore, holding a certain property. Well, yeah, she did say his name before. His name is Severin.
Yeah, Severn Baldwin.
No, not Severin. Yeah, Severin Ball. I'm sorry. You're right. Correct. Right. I did the genealogy. I have the genealogy. I did the genealogy. They claim they came. They've been on the shore. They, first of all, they claim that they descend from an Eyre family. Eyre. The Eyre family was an Indian Accawmack family. And this is what these Europeans do. What these Europeans do is steal your family's name so they can have a reason to say, yeah, this is my land because I descend from my my ancestors that was such and such. And when you go on the records, they always want to use a name that's tied to land. It's not a coincidence.
But this is how we know they're liars. Germans didn't speak Algonquin, which is what they're calling English. Irishmen didn't speak Algonquin, which is what they're calling English. So they're lying.
Oh yeah, they were speaking Normandy,
Right.
uh,
They in Gaelic, some
Gaelic,
gibberish.
Gaelic, Gaelic Scottish, Gaelic
Right. They
Scottish. Hmm.
exactly. They did not have our name. Like that's a whole lie. These people just got here. Like
Then you
and
can look at the documents. People, no
right.
one,
Like
it's
they're
documents.
lying.
The plays. They saying old English. It sounded like a whole different. It was a whole literally different language, but it was mixed in between French and Latin.
Right.
So you know it had nothing to do with English.
A F could be a S sound. Like I've read some old
Right,
English.
right.
So
Or
let
the
me
words.
ask a question. Let me ask a question. You have a African woman sitting on the Supreme Court justice.
Mm,
Negroes
mm,
call her black. You have an Indian man running the FBI. So
uh,
what is the so-called African or black people doing? Why all this is going on? And this might give you an insight on why nobody's standing up or coming to support Lisa. We got,
hmm.
we got to be serious about what's going on. And that's one of the reasons she isn't getting a lot of respect from the community is because she tells the truth. And what you call black and African American, the language they speak is lie. They never tell the truth.
Right,
So we got to start being serious. Not saying you guys are doing that,
right, right, right.
yeah,
Hmm.
but I'm saying, man, you got to stop playing around, stop bullshitting. Because
Mm,
seriously, what today? Lisa 60 years old.
hmm.
What are her grandkids gonna inherit if we don't do that now? What are your not yours, but everybody anybody who
Right.
listens, what are your children gonna inherit? What are your grandchildren gonna inherit it? And
Mm,
what are you gonna inherit it if you come back here? Stand up, y'all. All these foreigners are working against you. I know that you feel lonely and you want to join them and be them and fight against you.
mm,
You did that before, like the brother was saying. They gave you guns with the stipulation your ass better not turn that gun on me. You better go kill yourself. And you're still doing it.
mm.
mm,
So I would suggest, seriously, because we got to roll now, Max. I got to get out of here. I would suggest support this sister. A lot of people don't like her, but you like the people that done took your land and drowned out your people. You like them, but you don't like this sister who's been telling you the truth. Like the brother said, she's been helping people for free,
Mhm.
been bringing people to their land for free. Do your genealogy. The 13 colonies. What was behind? What was west of the 13 colonies? All the states that a lot of our people ran to get out of those wars. That's what she's been telling you. You say you don't like her. Okay, keep playing around. Keep trying to talk like you know what you're talking about, but you don't. Find your folks. Support this sister. Support yourselves. Support me. Support Thomas. Support each other. Everybody else don't support you. They support themselves. And you, the Negro, the African American, the Black, you help them dog you out. No, don't you? If you think I'm lying, check out these brothers sitting on the street who was in these wars. They get back from them wars and find out that the people who they were sent over to kill is living right down the street from their mama. So we got to roll, y'all. These brothers gave you the insight, the 411 on Lisa Cypress. Sisters need our help. Everybody kick in because she been kicking in for y'all. You guys have a good night. We out of here. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.